Get started. Good evening. We can call the meeting to order and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to go into some announcements.
I just want to make a general announcement. I have a scheduling conflict tonight, so if for whatever reason the meeting goes just past 9 o'clock, I'll have to excuse myself, just so that, I'm not just walking out, but scheduling.
Okay, thank you. So actually, on the, I'm not going to say the only thing, but the topic this evening, I wanted to take a moment and speak about the Wall That Heals event that took place here in our township. So I'm convinced that from now on until forever, I am going to take whatever opportunity to speak about the wonderful event that happened here in our township. So just in case anyone's not familiar with what occurred, we recently had in our township from July 8th through the 13th, hosted the Wall That Heals here in Wendell Stray Park. And so it's a 3/4 replica of the Vietnam Veteran Memorial that's in Washington, D.C. So our township, and we might be a little biased, but our township does do a pretty incredible show-stopping events, in my opinion. But when I say this has to be one of the most incredible, and for so many reasons. So if you had an opportunity to attend any part of the event, so may it be the procession that took place, the opening ceremony, the wall itself, the PTSD evening that we had, or even just the closing ceremony, or you just saw the wall being constructed and or taken down, you know that there had to be some pretty incredible folks behind all of this that facilitated the whole thing. So there is in no way am I going to do any of this justice, because it was just such a huge undertaking, and so well executed by all of our township folks. I mean, every single person stood out for me, everyone. It didn't matter if you were the township manager, didn't matter if you were the chief of police, it didn't matter if you were just, not just, but someone who works in the office, or if you were a township supervisor. Everyone, anything that needed to be done, everyone got in there, rolled up their sleeves and got it done, and did everything with grace, with dignity, and the respect that needed to be placed on such a monumental event. I have now said it a number of times, and I'll say it again. This township is the definition of teamwork. I have spent over 30 years in a career and worked with many teams, but have never seen such a large group of people come together so well for one common goal. So without a doubt, there are many that can learn from this team, definitely can learn. A zillion takeaways, but one of the biggest for me personally was the time I spent with the township staff at meetings, at the wall, and genuinely just getting to know everyone. So until the planning of this event, I personally don't know that I truly knew everyone. Not that I know everyone, but I just got closer to and got to know folks just on a much more personal level. Don't quiz me on names. Don't know everybody's name, but I really got to know so many folks that work here, just on a different level, and for that I'm forever grateful. So I can go on and on. We've got a meeting to get to, but from the bottom of my heart personally, I thank you again for making us look good. The community, us as a board, and each other. And I just don't know if, I mean, that's just where, and I don't want to get tear up again because I did it before, but I'm so proud of being a part of this community and being a part of the township. So that's all I have. I don't know if any of the supervisors wanted to say anything.
I was just going to give a big round of applause.
That too. How about it? So I know Beth, you were there. Annette was there for some of that. I mean, anything stand out for you guys?
In addition to our township staff, our department heads, our employees, everyone who put any kind of work into it, like from the bottom of our heart, I appreciate what you all did. Each and every person who put anything into it, whether it was, just an hour or you did 100 hours, everybody came together. That's part of being teamwork. The most I can say, it was life-changing to be there, to see our township team was amazing. But then some of the stories in speaking with people who were affected by that war were forever changing. The woman who talked to me about losing her man that she was supposed to marry. They weren't technically engaged yet, but she was supposed to marry this man. The veteran that came home but told the story about his parents thinking he was dead for 10 days because he got transferred and things got mixed up, and they were grieving him for 10 days. And then he grieved because they stopped all the letters and all communication coming to him when they did find him. It took time to get the letters and to him. So those kind of stories that need to live on, that are part of history, were just amazing. And to say thank you in particular to Carolyn for finding this, for bringing it here, and for spearheading this. Just thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yes, and I guess we all were touched by so many of the very personal experiences that people had in this long overdue honor to those who not only fought in the war, those who stayed home and missed the people they loved in their families. And everyone has stories, but there was one gentleman who had a list of 5 people who they were in his brigade. They all died on the same day, and he was there to honor them. And these are things that it's forever changing. And I think that many of us who didn't live through that exact time in our life, or were too young to remember it, I saw people bringing their children and their grandchildren and sharing these experiences with them. I think will forever change not only us and those who, so I thank everyone here who had a hand in making this all possible, but to our entire community for coming together for a common cause greater than what we are here for. So thank you for that. And great stuff. Amazing.
If I may, so when we found out about this opportunity, I came in and I spoke to Deb, whose husband served in the Air Force, and I said, I think we should try to do this. And immediately she said, yes, let's go for it. And then I had a meeting with the department heads just about mundane things, and I brought it up, and to a person, they said we should put our name in. So we put the application, and it really, in the beginning, it was about us. It was, oh, we can do something different, and this is going to be great. And everybody's going to look at Montgomery Township. And the more we learned and the more we planned, the more we realized this was so much bigger than we thought. And then to experience it, to see the escort with 200 motorcycles, to see Vietnam veterans who this might be their last opportunity that they can ride and escorted into the township, to get the cooperation of every municipality from Upper Marion all the way up to Montgomery, to to be there and to allow us to do this procession up DeKalb Pike. To Lieutenant Doherty, when I said to him, like you to be road captain, and here's what road captain does, and he just ran with it. Chief Peoples, I said, I'd like to be master of ceremonies. And it wasn't just, okay, I'll just introduce things. He took it and he ran with it. He got the speakers, he got the bagpipes, he built the podium that we didn't own at the time, and made sure when we realized that, oh, candlelight ceremony, that means there is going to be night. And next thing we know, it's illuminated so that people can read the names of the fallen from Montgomery County. Chief Wegman, just anything that was needed logistically, he just jumped in. It wasn't about title. It wasn't about who else can do it. Greg Reif, our public works director, one of the biggest changes that was made was the day they came out to the site, 7 a.m. in the morning, and we had it all strung out. And they said, yeah, the wall's going to need to get moved closer to the Mobile Education Center. And
bit about that. So I came out there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I see the group out there. I have to share this piece. And I'm walking up, and nobody has a smile. No one's smiling. And I'm like, okay, what the heck happened? I mean, day one, hour one, a change needed to occur. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if this is any indication of how this is going to go, I don't know what the next few days are going to be. But again, they pulled it together. All right, go ahead, Kath. Go ahead.
No, and the county, offered us those tents, the cooling tents, which made a huge difference, for the volunteers who were out there in that heat. But then we experienced it. We watched the wall get built, and that was amazing. And Rich Greer, our amazing IT director, I said, wouldn't it be cool if we put a camera up and could do a time lapse of it? And the next thing I know, he's got it going, and he's practicing with it in his yard, and he sets it up at the park, and we get a time lapse video. But prior to that, we got a time lapse of a storm coming into the park, and then a rainbow coming afterwards. Everybody just stepped in. My HR administrator is out there on Sunday driving a golf cart so that she can get water, Gatorade, and cooling towels to the people who are taking down the wall in humid, hot July weather, because she knew not a one was going to come over to where the water and the cooling pavilion was. So she got on that golf cart and took them out there, and it has changed us forever to a person. The experience of it, sharing people's stories, who I can't tell you how many people said to me, found me in a darkened park, or I'm off to the side, and not just thank me, but then shared a story that they've never told anybody. The woman who talked to me and said she was homesick from high school. She was 16 years old, and she looked out her bedroom window, and she saw the car pull up to talk to her sister and tell her that her husband had been killed over there. They told stories as if they had happened in the last month, in the last week. The details were so vivid, and we gave them something in terms of them having an outlet, but they gave us so much more in sharing their stories. And the things they left at the wall, plenty of flags, but someone left a Purple Heart there and said, I promised this person's last living relative that I would leave the heart at the wall. I opened a box that was just unmarked, innocuous, and there's a Purple Heart. There was another box that had a soldier's U.S. Army pin, the gold star that his mother received when he was killed in Vietnam, and then the POW MIA bracelet that his sister had worn the whole time until it was confirmed that he, in fact, had passed away over there. We're forever changed. We're still talking about it. As ironic as it sounds, when it was over, we wished we had a few more days with it. And we were already talking about, we had an after action meeting, things that we would do different, things that we thought we did really well, and we'll see what the future brings. That's all I'm going to say. But thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we could take our whole meeting talking about that. There's so
Yes.
much. Okay, public comment. Person wishing to make any public comment during this meeting on any items not listed on the agenda may do so at this time. Please come forward to the mic. Announcement of executive session.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Board of Supervisors met in executive session earlier this evening at 6:30 p.m. relating to litigation and real estate matters. These topics are legitimate subjects of an executive session under the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Sunshine Law. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6, the consent agenda. I'm going to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented for the following minutes of the June 23rd, 2025 Board of Supervisor meeting. Ratification of the payment of bills for July 14, 2025, and payment of bills for July 28th, 2025. Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 7. We have the McKee Group sketch plan presentation, proposed residential apartment building, Montgomery Glen Drive. Miriam McConnell.
So the applicant has submitted a sketch plan to the township for review, proposing to construct a 5-story, 213-unit residential apartment building with a 4.5-story, 435-space parking garage on a 4.7-acre landlocked vacant parcel with access from Montgomery Glen Drive at Hudson Estates off Doylestown Road. The majority of the property sits within the BP district with a smaller portion in the commercial district. The proposed use is not permitted within these zoning districts. The applicant would require a use variance and multiple dimensional variances or another mechanism such as rezoning or text amendment for this proposed development. They are here tonight to present their proposed project to the board.
Good evening. My name is John Iannuzzi on behalf of the developer, and we're excited to be here tonight. The presentation before you is very straightforward. Essentially, what we're proposing for the subject property is a apartment use. And in order to accomplish that, we would need a legislative text amendment. And we think that makes sense for a lot of reasons. And really, the goal of this presentation is to paint a picture to answer the question why. First, you'll hear from our engineer walk you through the site plan to highlight the fact that we believe this parcel is ideal for an apartment use, namely because it's set back from all behind the commercial uses from all other uses. It also brings an opportunity for interconnectivity for other uses for emergency services, which is huge for a senior center that's right next door to it. Then you're going to hear from our planner to answer the question why we believe this is a win-win, not only for us, but for the township, for a lot of reasons. And then you're going to hear from the developer themselves to show you what this proposed apartment complex will look like in other successful communities and kind of give you a little bit more about who they are as a company. And then we want to hear from you. We want to hear what your feedback would be to make a good proposal even better. I think that's very important. So without further ado, I want to call Ron Kloss up to kind of walk through the site plan. And we just respectfully request that you let us paint the full picture before we start dissecting it. I think all the pieces matter, and it's really important you see how everything comes together before we start asking questions. Then at the end of our presentation, we'll be happy, all our professionals will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I think it's the most efficient way to make this presentation home. Ron, I'll turn it over to you to walk through the plan.
Thanks. Is this on?
Yes.
Good evening, Ron Kloss from Boulder Engineering. Thanks for the time tonight. As John indicated, I'll just kind of walk through briefly the plan that's up on your screen here. Just kind of show you surrounding areas, what we're proposing, and where we're proposing it. So just to orient you with the configuration here, right side of the screen is Doylestown Road. Bottom of the screen here, Route 309. And then top of the screen labeled Montgomery Glen Drive, you can see there. The parcel here, kind of highlighted in the middle, is a 4.7 roughly acre parcel of land that has direct access to Montgomery Glen Drive, the fronts Montgomery Glen Drive. Does not have direct access to Old Doylestown Road, Old 202, or Route 309. I will point out that kind of shaded up along this left side here is a paper road, Elm Place, which we front on there, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But getting back to the parcel in question, as I said, center of the screen here is our proposed development, and then just to orient you, to show you what's around here, Hudson Estates is at the top of the page, the senior living facility on the opposite side of Montgomery Glen Drive. Then down along 202, I'm sure you're all familiar with, driving down there. You have the Mako parcel. You have the Wings and Beer place with an automotive place. The old Aldi's down at the bottom right corner. Moving down along for 309. This is Patients First. This is Michael's Restaurant. And this, I believe, is a food market here then. So those are the surrounding areas. You can see all commercial in nature, or, up above us, the senior living facility. As I mentioned, the 4.7 acre parcel here in the center, we're proposing an apartment unit. It would be a 5-story apartment. Kind of this U-shaped area would be the residential living units of the apartments. 215 units is proposed. And then the area here on the right side of our parcel is a proposed 4-story parking garage. Roughly 430 parking spaces would be provided within there. So we'd be able to fit roughly 2 parking spaces per unit in the garage itself. And then between the building and Montgomery Glen Drive, we're proposing a drop-off area up front with about 17 parking spaces that would allow for, visitors or something like that, or somebody that has to, make a quick delivery or something like that into the building. As I mentioned, Montgomery Glen Drive at the top of the screen is our primary means of access out onto the surrounding road network. So we're proposing an entrance and then an exit area up on Montgomery Glen Drive. I mentioned the paper road to the right here, Elm Place. There was a series of staff meetings that were part of the discussion over the past, 6 to 12 months. I did have the pleasure of meeting with your fire marshal at one point. One of the topics was, okay, this is a multi-story building and I don't see access around the sides of it. What can we do about that? So one of the things we came up with was, because of this, finger of Elm Place, a paper road, placing an emergency access in there that would allow fire truck to access from 309, the back portion of the property. The area within here is going to be a courtyard area. So with emergency pavers both up Elm Place and within this back portion, the back of the U, or the elbow of the U, we can provide an area for fire truck access and turnaround within there. So we think we've addressed the one big issue that was discussed at some of the staff meetings, which were emergency access and access to the back, what I'll call the back portion of the building, not just access from Montgomery Glen Drive up to the front portion of the building. I'll turn it over to our planner at this point. Again, a lot of the details, because we're so early in the project, will need to be worked out. Lighting, landscaping, stormwater, things like that. But I just wanted to give you a general overview of what's proposed, where the site is located, and how we're proposing access initially then.
And that will all be flushed out during the land development process. At this time, Dave, you want to come forward and answer the question why we think this is such a win-win, not only for us, but for the township as a whole. David?
Good evening, everyone. I'm David Babbitt. I must say I've been in this room an awful lot. A long time ago, I was the County Planning Commission representative to this township in the 1990s. The property, I think we can admit, is an orphaned property. I use that term with quotation marks. There is no direct access, nor is there frontage to any major road. It's about 425 feet away from both Doylestown Road and Bethlehem Pike. I would suggest that BP zoning is probably not, here we go, just so everyone knows where we are here, right in this area right here. BP zoning is, I would say, not the most appropriate zoning district for this property, or the BP zoning has to be expanded in terms of uses to allow this development.
That is sheet for your identification.
The reason why is I would suggest there's a mismatch between the BP zoning and the property and the developability of the site. So it's the proposed building would be about 700 feet away from the Twins on Ashley Circle. That's across Doylestown Road in Montgomery Glen. It's about 680 feet to the townhomes on Pinecrest Court. That's actually across the Hudson Estates property. So there's really no neighbor problem here. everything surrounded by either businesses or other relatively high density quasi-residential, quasi-institutional uses. There's limited visibility of the site from local roads and neighborhoods. This is a reason why I would suggest the business use probably won't work here, because it has no visibility, it has no direct access. But a use like this will be much more appropriate. So the site is, as we said, zoned BP Business Professional District. By the zoning map, I'd like to point out the fact that its pattern, its history, Montgomery Township has shown a great deal of consistency zoning the land pretty much along 309 Bethlehem Pike for commercial purposes, or industrial in the southern part of the township. Pretty much the entire stretch of 309 is zoned for commercial. And it also has a consistent history of rezoning land just behind those commercial properties for higher density residential development. So for example, going from south to north, we have the enclave at Montgomery in the 2000s. That's in the out of the industrial area. The orchards during the 1980s, townhouse and twin development. Pine Tree Ridge in the 1990s. Victoria Court, also in the 90s, Walnut Creek in the 2000s, and also I'd suggest the same scenario works for Welsh Village, now Gwinnett Point, which was done in the 1980s. You have the retail commercial along the main thoroughfares, and then behind that you have the high density residential, and we suggest that this is going to be yet another example of that same pattern. BP zoning already does permit residential development. We just want to modify provisions to allow the proposed development to occur. This would be in contrast rather to the Luxor project, where for the first time, residential uses were introduced into the LI district per se, without a rezoning. Remember, Enclave of Montgomery is an example of rezoning. The zoning map changed. In this instance, the text changed. So we're not asking for anything that's not terribly dissimilar from what exists already. So the next slide is the Township Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map. This is a recently completed comprehensive plan. And as you can see, where the cursor is, that's the property, and it's zoned in red, which is regional commercial. It's also adjacent to the higher density residential land use area, what you see in orange, I guess that is. That's Hudson Estates, and also east across Doylestown Road, Montgomery Glen, existing Montgomery Glen development. So there's no surprise here. The future land use map is pretty much the same as the zoning map. It's to be expected in a township that has relatively little developable land left. Let's get to the comprehensive plan of Montgomery County. So the second bullet point, these are goals of the Monco 2040 plan. The second bullet point says, it is a goal to building apartments and other dwelling types in walkable locations that will appeal to singles, young workers, small households, and seniors. Of the projected demand of 38,000 new units by 2040, 24,700 of the units are expected to be apartments or attached singles. That's 65% of the future units to be built in Montgomery County, likely to be either apartments or townhomes, essentially. We believe that the proposed development will provide housing that is more affordable than many of the existing homes in the township. It is housing designed for young people starting out and for empty nesters. It is not intended for families with children, and that's why you will see very few school-age children projected to live in this development. Purchasing an existing single-family home in the township at a more or less average price of about $700,000 requires a minimum household income north of $223,000 a year. That is not what you would call affordable under any stretch of the imagination. The proposed development is going to allow people to live there who have incomes less than half of this. It's not, well, affordable is a spectrum. This is not the most affordable. Most affordable would be subsidized housing, and no one's talking about subsidized housing here. And the least affordable would be the $1 million or $1.5 million mansions that are being built. But this falls somewhere on the far more affordable end of that spectrum, and it fills a niche. Anytime you increase the supply of housing in a region, the cost of housing in that region goes down, and that's just economics 101. The proposed development, we're looking at rent levels that are comparable to those at Luxor. One bedroom's about $2,000 to $2,500, two bedrooms at about $2,700 to $3,400. It was slightly less than Luxor, maybe. The Addison, which is the former English village, it's about 600 units, built about 1970. The one bedrooms there are only 1,400, 1,600. The two bedrooms there, 1,700. That's where the affordable housing is. If somebody wants to live in this area, it's right down the road, it's available, and it's certainly more affordable. Let's get to the county comprehensive plan, future land use plan. This is an enlargement of the plan specifically for the North Penn area. And the subject site is right in the middle of this dark color that I won't even attempt to describe. This would be part of the regional mixed use center land use area, which includes obviously regional retail, office complexes, hotels, entertainment uses, and high density multifamily and townhomes. So on the issues of affordability and on the issue of the future land use of the property, the proposal is, I believe, in compliance with the county comprehensive plan. Now we're going to talk briefly about a fiscal impact analysis. I do a lot of these. I'm not going to bore you with every single number here, but just let's take 3 or 4 minutes. The purpose of this is to determine whether a proposal like this will be good news or bad news for the township and for the school district. So the projection for the 215 units is a $24 million assessed value. That's based on comparable developments in the area. There'll be about 325 residents. The township's per capita expenditure is about $487, giving us an annual township expenditures of about $158,000. Revenue from real estate tax or income tax, that's actually the biggest revenue generator. The business privilege tax, liquid fuels, interest earnings all come to a net every year of a surplus of about $64,000 a year. So every year, the township is projected to bring in more money than it will spend on this development. For the school district, it's very similar. The projection is for 11 public school students. Large, new, relatively high-end, high amenities apartment complexes do not house large numbers of school-age children, and there is a ton of evidence to show that. So this is what the numbers show. School-age children tend to live in the older, smaller, lower-valued apartment complexes if their families are looking for apartments to begin with. So at the township, at the school district's $26,000 per student, the annual expenditure would be about $303,000, but revenue would be from the real estate tax. That revenue alone for the school district is more than $770,000. So that alone takes care of all the expenditures. There's also the earned income tax revenue, state and federal revenue, earnings on investments, so that the net surplus for the school district is projected to be almost $680,000 a year. This is extremely good news for the school district. Almost no kids, a ton of revenue coming in. So when you put them together, you have a situation where the proposed development is projected to generate nearly $750,000 a year. That's annual surplus. So this is good news for both the township and the school district. One thing else that needs to be mentioned, and that is that the proposed development will introduce more consumers to the area, and that will help to the businesses in the region, many of which are having trouble being profitable. I think we need to acknowledge that. I'd be happy to answer any questions at the end of all the presentations.
At this time, we're going to ask for the developer to come up and show you what these proposed apartments would look like in other successful communities, and also just to tell you a little bit about who they are. Colin
Goen with the McKee Group. Thank you everyone for your time this evening. I just real quick want to give you kind of an idea of what a building like this, what we envision potentially building here.
Now I would direct your attention to slide page 11.
Core States Group, formerly Bernardin, is who we would ultimately use as our architect here. So these facades that you see on the screen are examples of their work. And you can kind of see the type of materials and the type of look that we would be going for here. And I'll say, like, as we kind of talk about these, lifestyle apartments, really a big part of it is the amenities. And this is something that I'll say in a minute, something that we're familiar with in our own communities. But at here, we would certainly see ourselves bringing, a pool, a gym, things that these young workers and empty nesters, don't necessarily, they don't want to leave for everything. So they want some stuff to be in their apartment community. And this is an example of a building in Malvern. It's called the Yards at Malvern. This is a property that McKee owns and operates that is very similar to what we would like to bring to Montgomery Township. This is a 225 unit building on 5 acres. It's a 5-story building. It has structured parking. Most of the parking is inside, very similar to what we would like to do in Montgomery Township. There's a dog park, there's a pool, and this actually shows, these are actual pictures of the community. You can kind of see the courtyard there in the middle. Very similar to what we would like to bring to Montgomery Township. I would like to bring up Kevin McLaughlin, who can speak a little bit more to the McKee Group, its history, and kind of our history in Montgomery.
Colin, before you do that, I know there's some trees on the property. Can you kind of just give the board a heads up of what we've done so far, our due diligence as it relates to the trees?
Sure. Yeah. So we through our due diligence on the property, we have engaged a arborist to walk the property and to do a tree survey. So we have been very aware that there are, it is a forest if you look at the aerial there. So we have done a full tree survey, and we are, prepared to do during the land development process, all of our due diligence and surveys and, explore whatever tree replacement or, whatever we need to do to satisfy those requirements.
Thank you, Colin, at this time.
Thank you. Kevin McLaughlin with the McKee Group. And Madam Chairwoman, we experienced the team in Montgomery Township when we had our clubhouse fire up at the village in Neshaminy Falls, which was March of 24. So I was hoping to have an easy job introducing ourselves, but we can't thank the township enough, the staff, for what they did in helping us to, get us back on our feet with the clubhouse at the community, which we recently reopened, and thank the police and firemen and first responders who are obviously right on the scene when the time came to help everybody out. It was a remarkable experience for us, and another testament to the quality of the township, which was an honor. Having said that, McKee's been around we just celebrated our 75th anniversary, and we have extensive experience in home building, land development. We do residential rental communities like Neshaminy Falls, multifamily, meaning apartments, self-storage, and office projects. Like to think we have a great association and partnership with the township over the years. We've always enjoyed working with them. And so that's one reason we're excited to bring this project here to Montgomery Township, because we're excited about the township and excited about this project. When our operation of the Yards at Malvern has given us great insight into these lifestyle apartments, and we think it would be a great fit in the township, and it's been very well received by the residents and tenants there, be they people just starting out or people who are empty nesters, which are a surprisingly big component of that. So we look forward to working with you and hope we can address any concerns you might have as we work on this project together with you.
Thanks, Kevin. At this time, we would love to hear your feedback. We got a good proposal, but I believe your feedback can make it even a better proposal. So at this time, we're happy to answer any questions that you may have. Sure.
Any public comment on this topic at this time? Okay.
I'll start. one of my questions is about, you mentioned a pool. And I know that that area had been already flagged for fire truck access. So I wanted to find out about how you're, unless we have some sort of new fire truck that can go across pools, which I didn't know about. That'd be super cool. Hovercraft of sorts.
That's a fair question. Ron, why don't you come up and answer that
Say
question?
Ron might have that one. That was something.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. No hovercrafts though.
Okay.
Can you hear me through this one? Okay.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, so we showed and demonstrated that, yes, we have maneuverability within that courtyard area, and we know there's going to be amenities, but we don't know exactly what those amenities are right now or exactly how they're going to be planned through that area. So the pool may be tucked closer to the building in the corner. That may be a grass area that's used for other amenities within there. So the full design of that interior courtyard has not been finalized yet. So I can't say exactly where the pool's going to be versus where the fire truck access is going to be, but I will know that we'll have to go through your fire chief, and he's obviously going to have to bless exactly what we do, and we're going to have to show appropriate access through that area.
Okay. And my other major question is obviously proximity to 5 Points. If anyone has driven through 5 Points, this is not something that needs a single extra car going through to make it more complicated. So my question is, what kind of traffic studies have been done? And I know you could say, well, we'll do those and sort that out, but I'm not sure how that,
Sure.
how we can justify that.
So first, let's get an answer to your first question. Ron, the traffic studies, where do we stand with that?
So I'm just the civil engineer here. Don't beat me up. No, to answer honestly, no, we haven't gotten to that point yet. We know that we're going to have to do a traffic study. So traffic engineers are going to have to be hired to do that study and the analysis. We're really at the early stages here to provide feedback on things like the use, the layout, and whatnot before we get too far and too deep into the project.
And I would just add that during the land development process, we would have to comply with all those requirements. But one of the things that we're really excited about is that 5 Point shopping corridor. For years, we were trying to reinvigorate that and bringing these consumers to such close proximities to those stores and restaurants. We really think it's going to be a shot in the arm to those business owners, which is a win-win not only for our proposed residents, but for your proposed business owners as well.
Did you say the Malvern location is a 5-story? It is a 5-story.
Yes.
Okay, so those
That is
pictures are kind of a real look at what. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And one other clarification, I have the 213 units, then someone's at 215. But are they 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom? What are we talking here?
Sure. Ron? Or Colin, do you want to answer that? It's going into the book bag, so that's always
Okay.
So we have. Why don't you come up to here so you can be heard?
Is it the 132 1-bedroom?
Page 10 of the.
Yeah, page 10 has it.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and I will say we have, because we are conceptual, as the plan changes,
Okay.
the numbers change around. But so what I have is 109 1-bedroom units, 84 2-bedroom units, and 23 studios.
Okay, so 2 bedrooms the largest.
Okay.
Is that going to be 5 stories all the way around? So I'm looking at the design precedents. It looks like some areas are 3, some are 4, some are 5. I also note that the yards in Malvern, due to the different contours of the building, some are look before, and then it goes up to a 5. So is it a consistent 5, or is it changed throughout the building? Now, obviously, you have to have, the height at the highest point, but is it all the way around, or is it different locations?
So I think I'll say I think 5 stories all the way around. I think without knowing the topography in and out, there's a chance where there could be points where it's 4 stories depending on what the topography is. But I will say, our at least for our concept, it's 5-story building, and then a 4 to 4.5 story parking structure.
And I would just add, what's one of the unique things about this parcel that we're really excited about is it's tucked away. So 4 stories, 5 stories. What makes it really unique is the location of it and what surrounds it. So it takes an orphan piece and actually makes good use for that type of use.
Okay, I'm gonna go next. Beth had mentioned her fear of the 5 Points traffic. I am a person who drives on Montgomery Glen Drive every day. So the intersection of Montgomery Glen Drive and North Wales is ridiculous. It's terrible. So I can only see that this would make it 430 cars worse per day. It's a really unsafe intersection. There's only a stop sign going one way. If you live here and you know it, you sit there and you wait because cars fly by. It makes me a little afraid that it will just be more of a traffic nightmare. There's Stone Ridge, Montgomery Glen, Wood Hollow, Canterbury, Heather Knoll, the Twins on Montgomery Glen Drive. All of those neighborhoods funnel out through that little back portion of North Wales Road, which then sits and comes to that intersection. Anyone that's going to Home Depot, Rita's Water Ice, any of that stuff over there. I mean, it's a terrible intersection. I think this would just make it more terrible, more unsafe for all the kids that are walking out of those neighborhoods, going down to Taco Bell and, all the stuff. I also think there's no affordable living for families right now. A family cannot get a single family home here. So you are going to have families in there. I don't agree with what you're saying that there will be low impact on the schools. I think you're going to have some people going in there, squeezing more people in than should be in there, which isn't really fair to anyone, but there's no affordable housing. So the people that you think are going to live there, they can't afford to live there. It will be some families, some multi-generational families that will take this as a last resort. So I think you need to relook at the impact on the schools in the area. And I hate the parking garage. I hate taking down trees to build a parking garage. There's a song about it. We can all sing it. I'm never saying yes to that. Just my thoughts.
All good points. I think I would respectfully say a couple of points. One, this property at some time will be developed. And I think you kind of have to step back and say, what could go there, like an office use, and what type of traffic does that generate? And to your point, perhaps the traffic study may need to be done a little bit sooner, right, to answer these questions or to weigh these things, right? Very good point. But I think you can't just look at it in the vacuum. You have to say, what could go there under your current zoning? What are the benefits of what we're proposing? So I think that goes kind of hand in hand with what you were talking about as it relates to traffic, but very good point there. In terms of who will live there, I got really excited about this project for 2 reasons. One, there are people that have lived in Montgomery Township for years, right? And they live in those single family houses and their kids are gone and they have these huge homes and they don't need all that space. But they love the community. They love what you're talking about, that sense of teamwork and those events. And they still want to be part of your community, but they don't want to have that single family house. So we got excited about that. No, you're right. Could there be other people in there that other uses? We don't have a crystal ball. But the good thing that we should get excited about is people want to live in Montgomery Township, right? So that's the one end of the spectrum. And then the other end of the spectrum is those individuals just starting out. This gives them an opportunity to put their toe in the water, to be part of the community in a much more affordable way than a single family house that, to your point, will be very hard to make. So like everything in life, it's a balancing. But that's the positive sides of this proposal that we're focusing on. But we will take a look at our fiscal impact and see if those numbers hold true. I think that's a fair point to make.
I will also say, I'm not really sure how affordable this is. New kids coming out of college. I have a son at home who just graduated, who is working, making $50,000 a year. He can't afford this by himself. So I really think that you maybe Malvern, maybe your other place, you know, but I don't think here you're gonna see a single person cannot afford that.
Thank you for your comments.
Mhm.
Okay, and I do have to agree with you with the BP district, the way it's orphaned. I was going to call it landlocked, but it's not really landlocked. It's orphaned. I like that. I like that terminology. What else could go in there is where my head is going. Okay, if it's going to be business, they're going to have visibility issues. They're going to have issues with that. So I agree with you there. I'm not in love with the 4 and 5 level structure. Just think it's too much. The other question concerned the paper road. Is that a paper road is a township road and then you use that for entrance and exit? Explain a little bit more to me about that, please.
Well, I would defer to your solicitor. I don't want to overstep my bounds here. John, do you want?
I think the intent would be that it would be open for emergency access only.
Yeah.
It looks like it's not proposed to connect all the way through Montgomery to Glen Drive anyways. There'd be multiple ways that you could make it for emergency access only, just to make sure there's no cut throughs.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and I would also.
But I would assume that the developer would, even though it's a township road, that the developer would be in charge of putting that road together, doing that clearing for the purposes of arranging for that access.
100%. So a paper road is a road that's also have property owners have rights to paper roads. And again, it's like everything, it's how you look at it. We're excited about that because it provides a secondary access. Your fire chief will tell you that it's important for properties to have two means of access. And right now, you know, with this project, it provides an interconnectivity that just makes sense from a safety standpoint.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, Nancy, since you're doing the access from Montgomery Glen Drive at that intersection of Montgomery Glen Drive and Doylestown Road, if there was a need for intersection improvements, you would be responsible for doing those intersection improvements, correct?
100%.
Any other questions, comments?
So at this time, what we respectfully requested that we just continue down this road. We got some really good feedback from you all that we kind of take them, we kind of build them into our cake, right? And then keep on working with staff and maybe come back to you and show you where we're at. I think that makes the most sense. So respectfully, we will request that this board will allow us to keep on working with staff down this road to a possible legislative text amendment for this proposed use.
Do we have enough interest to do that?
I mean, one of the things that really stands out, and it came up a couple of times, I would love to just hear about or see some sort of traffic study. Really like that.
So we talked about that when we met at the staff level. And one of the other things we discussed was the board's concern about walkability and connectivity within the township. And we did note that that location being near the 202 Marketplace and over near the shopping center with the Water Tower Theater, people would be able to walk over there because there are some sidewalks in place already, but they would have to do a traffic study. They're at this point, I believe they're asking if you would support them going through the next step, which would be a text amendment. And then based on that text amendment, they would come in with a land development proposal that would have to go through the normal channels of going before the Planning Commission, being submitted to the Montgomery County Planning Commission. They would have to get approval from the Sewer Authority, the Water Authority in terms of connecting and procuring the EDUs they would need. And then they would also get a more formal review, obviously, from our consultants, including the township engineer, the traffic engineer, our planning consultant, our fire marshal, our police chief.
So there's still a long road ahead.
To be clear, right now, that this is not a code compliant plan. And the question is, should they spend their time and their money and take up township resources, again, they'd be reimbursing for that in order to pursue a plan, a text amendment, to make what they're proposing a reality. If you're willing to say, let's go down that path now, that's the direction they should be provided. If there's something that you feel you'd like to see more of before they would go down that path, for example, we don't want to entertain a traffic or a text change until we see the impacts in traffic or some potential interchange or intersection
definitely
improvements.
need that or want that.
Yeah, I feel like I can't really make a statement. I don't really have an appetite for it as it is right now. But I will be honest, I don't feel as if the pros and the cons add up for us right now, or for me. Shouldn't speak for anyone else. I mean, I see the trees. That is not something I love coming down for, parking structure and a, luxury lifestyle. I feel as if what we need more of is affordable housing for people that are right out of college or retired or on fixed incomes. I feel as if getting more, catering to people that already have options for themselves, or what we're going to end up with something we didn't anticipate, like families moving in and bringing in far more than we anticipated. So I feel as if there's a lot at stake right now. So I feel as if I'm not sure if I'm ready right now to say for a text amendment, because that's really what we're doing then, is buying into, if it's not them, it'll be someone else coming in. And I'm really not sure that's where I'm at. So that's my personal thought. I will put that out there.
I think, the traffic study, I think that's a great idea. I also think maybe you need an exhibit about this connectivity. What does it mean? Like, you want to see that? Like, what benefits of this project does it provide for the walkers? So maybe we can come back and give you that exhibit. In terms of the trees, respectfully, whether it's this project or an office complex, those trees will have to be someday addressed. The key is to address it in a way that makes sense, not only for the developer, but for the township, and comply with all the township requirements as relates to the tree replacement. And to do it the right way, like having an arborist go out, identify what trees should be saved, what trees need to be replaced. So that process, regardless of what comes forward, will someday have to be addressed. It's a valid point, but I just wanted to stress that it's not like if this goes away that those trees will stay forever. And I think what I'm hearing for you is, like, we need to get that traffic question answered for you, right? But before you can make any decision, maybe we should come back with a traffic study exhibit for interconnectivity. Is there anything else that you're thinking that you need to see or hear? That's really what this conversation's about.
Mr. I know it seems that traffic study would not just be, this is the average daily trips, at the prime peaks, but also improvements that might need to be made at the Montgomery Glen and Doylestown Road intersection, just because it seemed like there were some questions or concerns related to how the backup would be from the people coming out of that community.
It makes sense.
But I would think that'd be part of the traffic study as well.
I think you're right on that. And also maybe perhaps another chapter of that study would be, well, if it's not this and you could do what's allowed under the code, what does that mean for 5 points and that stop sign, which I know I use that stop sign. I know what
The North Wales Road,
yes,
the one
I
I'm
do
talking
know.
about.
Yes. So that's what we have to weigh as well. So I think you're right about getting that traffic study.
Besides the traffic study, looking at that intersection, maybe doing a connectivity plan to see how the apartment could connect into the retail areas, the Sprouts, the World Markets, the Montgomeryville Mart Shopping Center. Is there anything else that you would like to see them present to you to help address any issues? Again, I think no one wants to spend time on this if it's not going to go anywhere, but if there's a realistic possibility in your minds that we'd be interested in this as long as we receive this information.
Well, I think that, as we did with Penn Medicine, there should be a meeting with the neighbors that would be affected, which would be the townhouses in Pinecrest. I think that's the only one that
Hudson Estates.
Hudson Estates, and I think those are the only ones that are actually right next to it.
Yeah, but respectfully, I think it would probably be more Hudson Estates, and I actually have loved ones that live in Hudson Estates, so I think that makes sense. Actually, we were talking about it before this meeting.
And Pinecrest should be invited as well.
Absolutely. The only thing I will stress out from a Pinecrest standpoint, you won't see this building because Hudson Estate is in front of it. But
But it's 5 stories.
Yeah, right.
He's gonna see it.
But you know what I'm hearing from that? Maybe you need to see an elevation. What does 5 stories really mean? Like from
We know
different,
what 5
no, no, I mean
stories
from different
means.
viewpoints. From different
We know.
viewpoints.
I don't think we need to see an elevation.
Okay, if you don't want that, I thought that would be helpful. But yes, meeting with the neighbors always makes sense.
That's it for me.
Okay, well, it sounds like there's a couple things that they're interested in seeing before they're willing to, move forward with a text amendment and to consider that. So I would think the next step would be to get together with your team, see if those are things that you can address, maybe set up another staff meeting, and then probably come back here with more information to the board at a later time.
Great. I want to thank everyone for their time and attention. We really appreciate it. Have a great night. Thanks.
Per section 401 of the municipality's planning code, the governing body of each municipality shall have the power to make or cause to be made an official map of all or a portion of the municipality which may show appropriate elements or portions of elements of the comprehensive plan with regard to public lands and facilities. Horsham Township has completed a draft of an official map as it pertains to the former Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base at Willow Grove. Public hearing is scheduled for August 25th, 2025 at the Horsham Township Building in accordance with Section 408C of the MPC. The proposed ordinance has been provided to adjacent municipalities for their review and comment. This ordinance was presented to the Planning Commission during their July 17th, 2025 meeting. Yes,
So this
that's
is
a
a
copy of the
requirement that
proposed
Horsham
map.
Township has when they're doing comprehensive amendments to their zoning plan to notify all surrounding municipalities. There's no actually really any action that needs to be taken.
No.
Yeah, well, it's if you had a problem with this.
Yeah.
You
It
would
gives
be
you the
able to
opportunity to
express
make
that
any
issue.
comments or
Like, do we
address
need a
any
map?
questions.
Yeah.
Okay, got
Yeah, I didn't take it as there was anything that we
Okay.
need. It was informational, the piece of it, and then we could attend if we'd
Was
like.
there anything that was concerning to anybody?
No,
Okay.
no, not with the planning commission.
Okay.
I think they overall liked that something was happening with the Air Force Base
Mhm.
or Naval Base.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Item number 9, review of zoning hearing board applications. Mary Ann McConnell.
Included in your packet is a summary of the applications before the zoning hearing board for their August 6, 2025 meeting. I'm sorry, it's actually moved to August 13th. The board may remain neutral on the applications and let the zoning hearing board render a decision based on the testimony presented, or they may send the solicitor's office to oppose an application. This action would require a motion, second, and vote of the board.
Yeah, I was fine with just decisions being made at the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. We're good with that. Okay, item number 10, Montgomery Retirement Residence LLC, Hudson Estates, deed of dedication for Montgomery Glen Drive right-of-way and Doylestown Road right-of-way. Mary Ann McConnell.
Attached is a deed of dedication for the right-of-way along Montgomery Glen Drive and Doylestown Road in accordance with the approved preliminary final subdivision land development plans dated May 5th, 2016, last revised January 11th, 2018 for Montgomery Retirement Residence, known as Hudson Estates. The area to be dedicated is a 10-foot right-of-way on Montgomery Glen Drive and the area between the legal and ultimate right-of-way along Doylestown Road. So we would need a motion to accept the deed of dedication.
Any questions? Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the deed of dedication from the property owner Montgomery Retirement Residence LLC for a 10-foot right-of-way along Montgomery Glen Drive in the area between the legal and ultimate right-of-way along Doylestown Road in conjunction with Montgomery Retirement Residence Land Development. The solicitor is hereby authorized to record the deed in the Montgomery County Courthouse.
Second.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Item number 12, Grays Lane speed enforcement. Chief Peoples.
Yes, thank you. In 2023, the Montgomery Township Police Department initiated a traffic study in response to complaints about speeding on Grays Lane. After traffic studies were completed, it was found that the speeding is an issue, and the police department is taking traffic enforcement action to reduce speeding on Grays Lane. Currently in Pennsylvania, radar is not permitted, and the speed timing devices must be used in conjunction with white painted lines on the roadway for traffic speed enforcement. Currently, there are speed timing lines at Grays Lane and Cove Circle, as well as Grays Lanes and Beaumont Terrace. In response to the speeding complaints, the police department will mark the intersections of Grays Lane and Treeline Drive, Bellows Way, and Pioneer Drive for additional speed enforcement. The speed enforcement lines will be white and approximately 12 feet in length, as opposed to the current speed enforcement lines on Grays Lane, which span the entire roadway. There's an attached map showing the current speed time lines as well as the new speed timing lines.
So
This is being provided as information to the board so that if you do get any calls from residents about why there's new lines on the road, you'll have an answer for them. Currently, we're only in the locations that the chief identified, and what happens is a motorist knows where that patrol car is going to be. They slow down because they know there's the lines there and they're going to be clocked. And then once they pass it, they speed up again. This gives us the ability to change things up, that they won't know necessarily where the patrol car will be from one day to the next when they're out there.
So I'm sorry, Chief. Can you, and it's just helping me to understand it better. Well, so there'll be additional white lines out there?
That's correct. There you see the yellow stars. So at Pioneer Spur, Treeline Drive.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Bellows
I'm
Way.
seeing hers now. I'm looking at this and I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
it shows me
Understand.
nothing.
The
Okay.
color helps.
Yeah, it does. Okay. I'm like, where are the white lines?
Okay, so they're here and here now, and then you're gonna add 3 more,
Okay.
at least, yeah, 3. Recommended.
So you're saying though you can't use radar unless you have the white lines.
No, radar is only state police in Pennsylvania use radar. Our speed timing devices are handheld.
Okay.
It's essentially speed equals distance over time. So we have to be able to see those white lines to be able to do speed.
So is this is not a potential calming method, is it? Possibly.
Well, if people see the white lines and are slowing down because of that, it would be a calming device, but that's not what it's meant for in the what we talk about calming devices itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, all those other meetings we had, the residents said, ticket them, do what we have to do to slow them down. So hopefully this.
Yep. And I will say these lines, I mean, typically in Montgomery Township, our white lines go all the way across the road. We decided to make these a little bit shorter, so they're not as noticeable, but they still are there. That people will see them as they go down the road. We have that every time we do directed patrols. We see the cars are coming really fast, and once they get to the white lines, they slow down. Then they just pick it up again. This is just going to expand our enforcement actions to be able to do more enforcement on Grays Lane.
Do we have a car out there every day? Like what's the schedule
Not
like?
every day, but a lot.
That was a question I had too. If there's any sort of, is it
Yeah.
a set schedule or?
So since January, we've had over 24 directed patrols there, and we've written over 25 citations between the 2 spots that we had.
So what about since we took away the squiggly lines? What
What do you mean as far as the traffic study goes?
Well, just since then, how many citations or anything like since then, and we took that away and the residents said, we're okay with nothing, you know, obviously we're going to add this. It should help. Right?
What should help the extra speed enforcement?
Lines, yeah.
It hasn't really showed the speed changing at all. That's from having the speed timer out there again.
it's going to work, but it's only going to work while that police car is sitting right there.
Right.
Unfortunately.
And is this, I guess it's not like a set schedule, like, 3 times a week or 4 times. I mean, we're not going to tell people we're going to be there,
Yeah.
but
It's obviously it's random. All the squads, they are rotating through there as well as our highway safety. So it's very random. It depends availability. It's just, they pick different times of day. We don't have a set schedule that you have to be here like a school zone.
Okay. Any questions or comments? I see one of my friends here.
I think the lines are going to be a good idea because since the swivelly ones have been removed, I have seen a very high increase in cops. Usually friendly ones branching off of Grays Lane, oftentimes on Cove Circle and Forest Trail. And there's and also with those, I do a lot of times see cars with putting on their brake lights in between Pioneer and Cove Circle, which I think is also a good sign because it does show that some people are attempting to slow down. And I also do. And I also do think that adding more of these white lines so that there can be more cost timing and pulling over people who do happen to be speeding would reinforce that a little bit more to make it to make more people slow down. So hopefully most of the neighborhood and people going around that neighborhood would be slower. So I just want to say thank you for coming up with a.
Can you give us your name and address?
Yeah.
My name is Nora Stout and I live at 107 Cove Circle.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Hello again.
Hi.
George, 109 Cove Circle. What's the timeline for these going up? And well, that's that first.
The timeline would be we'd have to coordinate with Public Works to be able to get it done and have our highway safety officer to get the best spot that we're going to put it.
Okay. And do we have any updates from state? I think one of the officers, Jenkins, going to talk with someone at PennDOT.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You talked about the LTAP study, which is another traffic study that has not been concluded yet. No.
Okay. Just as you know from our conversation before, I don't want this to drag out we're 2 years later now, almost 2.5 years later from when this was brought up into this form of study. I know from talking with other neighbors, it goes back like 7-8 years. All right. And with young kids in the neighborhood, you're one of them. It's paramount for the safety of the neighborhood. Right. When people are flying through there, and just want to make sure that we're still keeping on this and we're moving this with what's the right word? Conviction, because this going by the wayside again, when you remove a calming measure that was working, I mean, you're showing a 14% drop in speed, and as chief people say, 14% reduction, that's statistically significant. All right. So when that's removed, something else needs to go into place that is equally or more effective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Frank Bertucci, 108 Simpson Court in North Wales. I'm kind of late to the party. I kind of saw some of this online. But I think the only thing that works is speed bumps. I think all these signs you put up with the lights, I mean, that doesn't stop anybody. I see it 25 and I'm doing 40. If there's no cop there, it's useless, to stop somebody. I mean, the only thing that works, I don't know if you go down to 309, like down the Limekiln, Chestnut Hill, they have like 4 of them. You cannot do 15 miles an hour to go over those bumps.
On Gresham
You have to
Valley.
slow down almost completely to go over. That's what works. You put 4 on there, and then you know what else? The people that are speeding know the bumps there. They're not going that way. They're going somewhere else where they can fly.
I'm sorry. Where did you say they are? On Gresham? Did you say
I think they're on Gresham Valley.
Yeah, you go down the hill, and you could do like, if you do 20, your bottom of your car is going to hit. So you got to go down and almost stop completely to go over. And that's what'll work. Now, I heard something about the grade or something, but maybe you make them lower to the ground. Instead of this high, you make them this high. But anything like that is going to slow people down. These other ideas with paint and stuff, I mean, If you're not there, if I don't see a cop car, it doesn't do nothing. You're going to have a cop there 24/7. You know, I mean, I've been driving for 50 years. So, you know, that's what I would say is going to stop it once and for all. Then you're done with this, you know, this whole discussion. And then you guys can do something else. Because I live on Upper State Road across from MMR. I mean, cars do 65 miles an hour in my backyard, right where the sidewalk's here. I went out there to clean the storm drain one day, and I almost got hit by like 5 cars, and they're flying by 60 miles an hour. I mean, that's the way people drive. You know, I don't know how you can stop it everywhere. You know, but in their neighborhood, definitely speed bumps would stop it once and for all. And I use that road pretty often, going to Home Depot and Pinecrest. So I've been that way, and it's almost impossible to do 25 coming down that hill of Grays Lane unless you ride your brake the whole way. So, I mean, that's just my opinion.
Thank you. You want to say something?
Yeah, in terms of speed bumps, I know that we discussed speed bumps, and there were so many negatives about it in terms of emergency responses. So if you have a stroke victim, and we're delaying their ambulance arriving in time because they can't get there, and then there's the snowplow issue. Then there's fire response time, which we're trying to address. There's a lot of reasons that slowing people down in those response is an issue, and also for those who don't slow down and they have damage to their car, what's the liability on that? I have a question about that as well. I'm not saying they don't work. I'm just saying that in some situations we hope that people will follow the law. It's just something that it would be nice. So that would be nice. And hopefully that is something that we can put up reminders, have some stiffer penalties, and the consequences maybe will lay with those things. But obviously speed bumps can work with costs involved. And I'm not sure if who's willing to take that.
So I challenge that a little bit. That's only because where we have I mean, what do areas do that have speed bumps? You see them. They're everywhere. Not necessarily here. I'm just talking about. So I can't help but continue to bring up because I have slowed down, heading on my way into the city. And when you say Crescent Valley Road, that's what I thought of. There's a Crescent Valley Road, and going around, making your way to Lincoln Drive.
That's exactly where we
okay.
are.
So I drive differently now because of those speed bumps. So what do those are homes there. There are homes along leading up to not answer the question, but what does, first responders, what do they do in Syria? I mean, I don't know if chief or
that's one of the reasons why we reached out to PennDOT, because the board chose not to do a study with a third party. So PennDOT, we're waiting to get their response back as to what they recommend for traffic calming.
Yeah.
The other thing you need to consider is if you put them in one neighborhood, you need to be ready for every other neighborhood. They're in a lot of the boroughs, because there's more densely populated areas. The roads are narrower, there's parking on both sides, there's a lot more pedestrian movement. So really PennDOT's going to be the final arbiter for this, to give us recommendations that we'll bring to the board as soon as we get them, to have they'll be on the agenda. We'll have a public discussion about it, and then you can make a decision, what you want to do, or if you want to still rely on enforcement. I mean, there's only so much we can do with education. It is personal responsibility. Another item that's on here is the red light cameras. You've seen the numbers, the number of people who are speeding. I've watched some of the videos of people going 74 miles an hour through the intersection at the Parkway and Horsham Road. We have the red light, the bus cameras. We were shocked when we saw the numbers of how many people are passing school buses in our township with the red lights on. So everybody says they're concerned about, children's safety. The numbers are staggering. With the fine, a $300 fine doesn't seem to be enough of an impediment for people to stop passing school buses. So as soon as we get the PennDOT report, we'll make it an agenda item and we'll have a discussion about it.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 12. Native red light camera enforcement.
Thank you. In 2024, the Montgomery Township Police Department initiated research into PennDOT's automated red light camera enforcement, or ARLI, program to enhance traffic safety in Montgomery Township. To qualify for the RLE program, the police department must be accredited through Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association, have a population exceeding 20,000 residents. PennDOT identified 7 intersections in Montgomery Township that would qualify for automatic red light camera enforcement due to a high number of vehicle crashes attributed to red light violations. These intersections that were identified were Horsham Road and Stump Road, Horsham Road and the 202 Parkway, Route 202 Parkway at Knapp Road, Route 202 Parkway at Welsh Road, Route 309 at Upper State Road, Route 309 at North Wells Road, and the 5 Points intersection. In March of this year, the intersection of Horsham Road and Route 202 Parkway and Route 309 at North Wells Road were equipped with the RLE equipment, and it is currently in operation. Planning is underway for the intersection of Horsham Road at Stump Road to be equipped with automatic red light camera enforcement equipment to enhance the traffic safety efforts of Montgomery Township. The cameras will be installed on Horsham Road in both directions.
I know that the cameras that we haven't been up for that long. Have we seen any?
It's too early for if you're going to ask for a traffic study for a reduction. I asked our highway safety guys about that specifically for tonight, but it's so early. We just went live with it May 13th. But I will tell you, since May 13th, we've had to today, we've had 4,655 violations.
What? 4,000?
4,655 violations.
It's scary out there.
And that's before the warning. So we had a warning that was from March until May of 13.
This is after the
After
warning.
the warning.
After the warning.
That's it. After the warning is the 4,140 after the rejects. The highway safety officers all look at it and they'll reject some, whether it be a mistake or they thought they did stop. So that's our number right after everything. This is specifically from May 13th to today is 4,140 citations have gone out, civil citations.
It's incredible. It's unbelievable, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Wow. Okay. Item number 13, the appointment of automatic red light hearing examiner. Chief Peoples.
Thank you. March 14th, 2025, the automatic red light camera enforcement system went into effect in Montgomery Township. This was followed by a 60-day warning period for violating motorists. On May 13th, 25, the automatic red light camera enforcement system began issuing civil citations to motorists who violated the law. As part of the program, a motorist who has violated the law has the opportunity to view their violation via a website indicated on the civil citation. If the violating motorist does not agree with the civil citation, they have the opportunity to have an administrative hearing. These administrative hearings are held with a member of the Montgomery Township Police Department's Highway Safety Unit who approved the violation, as well as an automatic red light camera enforcement hearing examiner. At the administrative hearing, the violating motorist has the opportunity to view the violation with the highway safety officer and the RLE hearing examiner. The violating motorist then has the opportunity to explain to the automatic red light camera enforcement hearing examiner why they should be found not liable for the violation. At this point, the RLE hearing examiner makes a determination of culpability for the red light violation. If the violating motorist disagrees with the decision, they have the opportunity to appeal it to a magisterial district judge. It is recommended that the Board of Supervisors appoint David Dunlap as the township's automatic red light camera enforcement hearing examiner. David Dunlap is a retired Montgomery Township Police Department officer for 40 years. With 40 years of law enforcement experience, primarily focused on highway safety and accident investigations.
Is this a paid position?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And has there been anyone that's questioning their violations? Because don't we send pictures?
Yes, we have some scheduled up already. We're going to be doing monthly hearings until we find out what the numbers are. But right now it's looking at anywhere from 10 to 15 people.
Per month.
So far. We're a little bit, the whole system, because the way the system works, everything's a little backlogged. So we're starting to get the hearing request in now.
Do we know about what the salary will be or how he will be paid? This really was supposed to be completely revenue neutral for
This
us.
will actually, everything is paid for by this system. There's no cost out of pocket to Montgomery Township.
Okay.
Any overtime or hearing examine officer, we have these hearings after the fact by administrative people in the house. Well, it is all funded by the Arley program.
So we're able to appoint the person who we would like or who we think, but we don't pay the salary.
That's correct.
Okay, which is why
Okay.
there's no detail.
Okay,
Okay, I don't need it.
Okay.
sounds good.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to appoint David Dunlap as the township's automatic red light camera enforcement early hearing examiner.
Second.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 14, reallocation of 2024 Ford F-550 purchase from Whitmore Ford to Fred Beans Ford.
Thank you. Due to financial instability and the uncertainty of the future, it is recommended by Ford Motor Company to have the F-550 chassis originally scheduled to be purchased from Whitmore Ford in 2023, relocated to a participating CoStarz dealership. Included in your packet is an invoice from Fred Beans Ford. CoStarz number is listed, honoring the original quoted price from Whitmore Ford in 2023. The purchase of the Ford 550 chassis was approved by the Board of Supervisors and included in the 2023 capital investment plan. So it would be our recommendation that the Board of Supervisors approves the reallocation of the purchase of the 2024 Ford F-550 to Fred Beans Ford at a total cost of $63,450.
Is Whitmore closing or something, or?
Let's just say they ran into some issues.
Okay.
That would probably be the best way to put it.
Doesn't seem very nice of Ford to be not even helping them.
It was basically our recommendation for that chassis to be transferred to another CoStarz dealership with the issues that they were having.
So we approved it in 2023. We still don't have the chassis
And there's still TBD.
and there's still,
So the chassis right now is sitting up at J&J Ford. That's the outfitter we're using for the body. We had never received the invoice from Whitmore Ford. So then it's just been sitting up there. We had received notice that there was a possibility that Ford wanted to take that chassis back into their inventory. So we worked directly with Ford and asked if we could just have that relocated to another CoStarz dealership.
so we still weren't or aren't the official owners of the chassis?
Correct.
Okay.
We haven't paid for it,
Correct.
Okay.
but it was just sitting there.
We had been after Whitmore Ford for quite a while.
Okay.
We kept asking them about the invoice, and I guess that was right around the time when they were running into their financial instability.
We have reservations about them being a going concern. And rather than finding out that our chassis had been returned to Ford, we reached to ask Greg, and he worked diligently to find the right people at Ford to talk to, explain our situation as a municipality, and get authorization to relocate the chassis and get billed by Fred Beans instead at the same price.
Thank you.
And
Long live
Fred
Beans.
and Fred Beans is honoring the
Honoring
price.
the price. Yeah, from 2023.
And there was a price difference. There was a mistake on the Whitmore side, and they are graciously eating that.
And
So
they're local. We love to support a local business.
Okay,
Thank you, Greg.
wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to award the reallocation of the purchase of the 2024 Ford F-550 to Fred Beans Ford at a total cost of $63,450.
Second.
Any public comment? All those in favor? Great. Item 15, curb and sidewalk replacement at the police department. Gregory?
a large amount of curb and sidewalk at the police department is severely deteriorated and causing potential trip hazards and unsafe conditions. The Public Works Department obtained 2 quotes from contractors participating in the CoStarz Cooperative Purchasing Program and Drumheller Construction Incorporated has provided us with the lowest responsible quote in the amount of $31,500. The two quotes are included in your packet. The cost of the curb and sidewalk replacement will be taken from the 2025 capital investment plan. Our recommendation at this time, although the project was not included in the 2025 capital investment plan, we are recommending to award the contract to Drumheller Construction Company Incorporated due to safety concerns. Yes, we have.
We navigate that sidewalk too during voting times, and I've had chunks of sidewalk have fallen off in front of my face, so I'm very aware of this deterioration. And I was like, I guess I'll return this to someone. I'm not sure.
This is actually right in back of the building here.
Oh,
where
okay, in the back.
police
Well, I
go
saw
in
it in
and
the front
out.
as well, so.
So that'll be on our
Next.
project list for
Okay, well, let's put it on the list.
next year.
The other part of the concrete is going to be on next year's budget for capital. We just had a meeting today to discuss it because the building is aging, the concrete work around the building is aging. But this portion, we had some significant savings on some of our other capital projects, including the lights out in the parking lot, which I'm anxious to see when we leave, how they look.
Yep.
So we have the money available for us to be able to do this year.
Great. Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to award the contract for the curb and sidewalk replacement at the police department project to Drumheller Construction Company, Inc. in the amount of $31,500.
Second?
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, item 16, consider purchase of fuel through 2025 to 2026 Montgomery County Consortium Fuel Contract. Gregory?
All right, the township has the opportunity to purchase petroleum products from the Montgomery County Consortium Fuel Contract. The contract has been awarded to SJ Fuel South. The contract is valid for 1 year and will run from September 1st of 2025 to August 31st of 2026. Allocations for fuel for all departments were included in the 2025 approved final budget. So it would be our recommendation the board authorize the township's participation in the Montgomery County Consortium Fuel Contract awarded to SJ Fuel South for the purchase of the petroleum products.
Any questions? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the township's participation in the Montgomery County Consortium Fuel Contract awarded to SJ Fuel South for the purchase of petroleum products for a period of 1 year, ending on August 31, 2026. Any public comment? All those in favor? Thank you. Item 17, LED sport light conversion at Whistlestop Park, Greg Reith. Whistlestop, I'm sorry.
All right, included in the 2025 capital investment plan is the LED conversion of the sports lighting at Whistlestop Park. The Public Works Department obtained 3 quotes ranging from $20,723 to $24,039.37. City Electric Supply Company provided us with the lowest responsible quote at $20,723. 3 quotes are included in your packet. A total of $25,000 is included in the 2025 capital investment plan. So it would be our recommendation to award the contract to City Electric Company for the LED conversion of the sports lighting at Whistlestop Park.
Any questions? Okay, I'll make a motion to award the contract for the LED conversion of the sports lighting at Whistlestop Park to City Electric Supply Company in the amount of $20,723.
Second?
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 18, authorization to advertise for bids for leaf and yard waste collection and disposal. Carolyn McCreary.
Thank you. A condition of our eligibility for funding under DEP's Recycling Performance Grant Program is that we provide a separate collection of leaf and yard waste consisting of leaves, shrubbery, tree trimmings, and other similar materials with disposal at a composting facility. The regulations specifically require that the township provide for a curb pickup or bagged leaf and yard waste at least twice per year in the spring and fall, and provide for a drop-off and disposal of leaf and yard waste at least once per month. From November 1, 2023 through October 31st, 2025, the township contracted with JP Mascaro to provide a one-day curbside leaf and yard waste collection in November, December, and another in April. Additionally, JP Mascaro provided a 40-yard container at William F. Mall Park at Windlestray on the third Saturday of each month for residents to drop off leaf and yard waste. The materials collected were disposed at their compost facility via a contract with the Northern Montgomery County Recycling Commission. The current contract expires on October 31st. The cost for 2 years of service was $73,560. With the contract expiring on October 31st, the township will need to solicit bids for a new contract to start 11/1/25. We would like to lock in our fall curbside collection date as soon as possible, so we're asking to have the bid for the project now. So I'm asking tonight for the board to authorize the advertisement for the bids.
Going to make a motion to authorize the advertisement for bids for residential leaf and yard waste collection and disposal to provide for a twice per year curbside pickup of bagged leaf and yard waste in the spring and fall, and for a drop off and disposal of leaf and yard waste once every month.
Second.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 19, the fall 2025 recreation programs. Are you speaking?
I am.
Oh, okay. And I see all these other
I
names
don't do it
on here.
often, but I am speaking tonight. In your packet, good evening. In your packet this evening is the proposed lineup of activity at the Montgomery Township Community Center for the fall 2025 season. The recommended fees and charges of each program are also included. The schedule will be valid from September 5th through December 31st, 2025. All MonCRC activities and events will be promoted through our normal publicity channels as well as social media. The lineup of activities, programs, and special events provides a diverse menu of recreational opportunities, a wide array of healthy fitness sessions, fun community special events, and positive educational programs will be available for all individuals of all ages throughout the Montgomery Township area. All recreation opportunities are expected to be budget neutral. Staff recommendation is to approve the 2025 Fall Recreation Program and Fees Schedule Amendment as submitted.
While we're on the subject, I want to pass along for the board to look at. These are newsletters that go out to the parents every week for Kids U, and it's a really prime example of the work that Floyd and his staff are doing.
Thank you. Okay, and I'm going to make a motion to approve the 2025 Fall Recreation Program and Fee Schedule Amendment as submitted. Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Floyd. Okay, item number 20. Approve the lease renewal for the VMSC EMS substation. Carolyn McCreary.
As you all know, VMSC EMS maintains a substation located here on the township's property. Their lease is set to expire on August 1st, and the board of directors wishes to extend the lease for an additional 10 years. I've asked the township solicitor to draft a lease extension using the previous one as a template, and staff is recommending the board approve a 10-year lease to ensure timely responses to 911 calls within the township.
Okay, any questions? Going to make a motion to approve the lease renewal for the VMSC EMS substation located on the township's municipal campus and authorize the chairwoman, me, to execute on behalf of the township.
Second.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 21, ratification of real estate tax appeal settlement 220 Commerce Drive. Blaine Berge.
This summary relates to an assessment appeal filed by the North Penn School District for the 2023 tax year. The property at issue is identified as parcel 46000544-013 with an address of 220 Commerce Drive and is owned by Silver Fox Management. The property is improved with an industrial warehouse. The proposed settlement negotiated between the school district and the taxpayer is a fair market value of $5.1 million for tax year 2023. Applying the applicable common level ratio, the assessed value would become $2,019,600, resulting in an increase of the assessed value of $602,320 for 2023. The fair market value would become $5.1 million for tax year 2024. Applying the common level ratio, the assessed value would become $1,810,500, resulting in an increase of the assessed value of $393,220 for 2024. The fair market value would become $5.1 million for tax year 2025. Applying the common level ratio, the assessed value would become $1,677,900, resulting in an increase of the assessed value of $260,620 for 2025. The budget impact, based on the proposed settlement, should the township agree to the settlement, the taxpayer will owe additional taxes in the amount of $3,422 for the 2023 to 2025 tax years. The assessed value of the property will be increased by $260,620 for the 2025 tax year. The solicitor's office has reviewed the proposed settlement and recommends the Board of Supervisors approve the settlement.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the settlement for 220 Commerce Drive and authorize the township solicitor to execute the document on behalf of the township.
Second.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item 23, review of costs related to expansion to a full career fire department. Chief Woodman.
You skipped 2022.
Oh, did I? Oh my goodness, my pages are stuck together. Okay. 22, thank you for bringing that up. Hampton Green Condominium Associate Road Maintenance Request. Carolyn McCreary, sorry about that.
That's fine, thank you. At the June 23rd Board of Supervisors public meeting, a resident spoke during public comment and asked the board to consider taking over the maintenance and snow plowing operations for the private roads within the Hampton Green condominium community. She cited the cost of the property owners and the fact that they all pay property taxes. The township subsequently received a written request as a follow-up. The board had suggested that they submit something in writing to the township, which they did. The request was included in your packet. Staff is recommending the board deny the request because these developments receive land development approval, with the developers actually requesting that the roads be private. Additionally, it opens the door for other neighborhoods that were developed with private roads to also make the same request because of costs associated with maintenance and snow removal, and Public Works does not have the manpower or fiscal resources to handle this. Additionally, the comment was made, if I'm not having my roads done, what am I paying my taxes for? And to be honest, if you look at as part of our budget, you all know this. Right now, currently 53% of our tax bill goes towards 24/7 police coverage. There's an additional percentage that obviously goes to having paid fire during the week, and then Public Works, administration, zoning are all smaller portions of it. And we can't forget the debt service related to our capital plan, as well as the CRC's debt. So to me, this was a decision that was made obviously without these owners being involved, but a lot of times, and since I've been here in WB Homes, when they put the townhomes in, are a perfect example. They did not build them to the PennDOT specifications. The road width is not, and when it was called out, the first statement was made is, well, these are going to be private roads. So these roads, while they might have been built to the specs for type, the depth of the blacktop, the stone base underneath. A lot of times the widths are not PennDOT specifications, and that's why the township allowed them to stay private roads. So that's what staff's recommendation is, and we're asking the board's direction tonight with a motion, and then we would notify the property owners who relayed the formal request to us.
Okay, so I don't have any questions. I just have a comment because I live in a community where we have to maintain our own. So this goes through. Let my board know we should also go this route. I mean, it is what it is. You're in a development that and great way to say it, Carlin. We didn't have it wasn't like they asked us or really even told us when I built in there that you're going to be responsible for any and all things plowing. Right now we're having sealing done to the roads in the we're paying for that. So I don't I'm a deny on this.
And you're in a newer development, so you're right. At this point,
Yeah.
you're sealing roads from a maintenance perspective. A lot of the communities in our township are older, which means they're past a lot of times where crack sealing is going to be sufficient. You're looking at a full-blown milling and overlay, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars that we pay every year to do the roads that we're required to do. And the PennDOT money we get is for our public roads. We would not get money for these private roads.
I'm with Audrey. I would deny it. Same.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion to deny the request to provide assistance for internal road maintenance for the Hampton Green Condominium Association.
Second.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Nay? Yeah. Okay, now item number 23, review of costs related to expansion to a full career fire department. Chief Wigman.
So I'll let Bill chime in if he has anything to add. At your last meeting, we discussed this at length. The proposal that Chief Wegman submitted and has been discussed by the board at several meetings now to move from a career staff during the week, Monday through Friday, to career staff fully 24/7. That would be supplemented by volunteers. So it would be a true combination department. The proposal at that time was to bring in 19 full-time firefighters. And one of the statements that was made by a board member, I believe it might have been Ms. Bamford, and then there was consensus among the majority, was to look at what a phased approach would do. So currently we had proposed 19 hiring, which we would need about $3 million to pay for that. And that would result in a millage increase. If we phased it and we went to 6 a year with the final year having 7 in there, we would be looking at obviously $1 million instead of $3 million. But additionally, because we would have overtime needs for those hours that are not covered, I asked our payroll administrator to run some numbers. They've been reviewed by the finance director, myself, and Chief Wigman. So if we went with hiring 6, we would still have a cost incurred of $1 million. It would likely result in a 0.27 mil increase. And the overtime cost for 2026 would be $575,702.08. And so tonight, I just wanted to present that additional information. Obviously, if the board has any questions about that, I can do my best to answer it along with Mr. Berge and Chief Wigman.
So when you say the 6 new hires, is it a situation where you're taking like one from each of the categories and hiring? You're not doing all of your leaders first. And when I say leaders, you can do 6, and 7. And how would that hire look? Does that make sense?
Chief, do you want to take that? If we did hire 6, it would not be just 6 leaders. It would not be the 6.
We're just looking at equal dispersion over the 3 years on average with the supervisors included in that equal dispersion. We did it based on hours, rates, pay rates at those hours divided by 3. And then those hours that aren't covered became overtime hours, which equal almost 500,000 more in overtime to fill those hours. So it was an equal dispersion first based on the hours and the positions.
So if the new again, just thinking of a 3-year phase, if this, 6 people came on, we would go to the new hours that you want to propose, that new approach. It wouldn't just be bringing these 6 on and then kind of doing what you're doing now, but filtering them in. I don't know.
I didn't take that approach.
Okay.
Because I didn't think that was what was wanted. I just took the approach of based on the recommendation for 6 people on a shift and 4 shifts. That's the approach we took.
Okay, so taking the new approach, but you don't have the full complement yet.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. I was just curious, and forgive me if this was mentioned. I know that initially the rationale for the conversion was shared with the Public Safety Committee. Was there any feedback given from the folks at the Public Safety meeting?
My impression was that they were for the expansion as presented, but recommended that we engage in a public campaign as to inform the residents of what was going on. And they were suggested that we do the social media campaign followed by meeting with homeowner associations. But nobody on the public safety committee, and there's other people in the room that can probably verify this, was opposed to the expansion.
And they were aware that it was going to result in a tax increase. We did make them aware of that night. And that's what they supported the proposal, but they wanted to make sure that we did an extensive outreach to make sure that the rationale was explained, as well as what we're currently facing in terms of the volunteer numbers dropping. And so that's what we've been working on. Chief Wigman and I did a podcast, which has been seen by, I think, 400 and some people already. We've also we snipped the portion from the meeting so that people don't have to go through and try to figure out how to get to Chief Wigman's portion of that Board of Supervisors meeting, and that has been put out as well. We're also planning meetings with some HOAs. The also thought was to have a couple of what I would call town hall meetings, one during the day at the rec center, one in the evening here at the township building. But we would need some direction from the board by the first meeting in September, so that we can make a decision about how we're going to move on the budget.
Okay. And I don't, if anyone can just kind of, just for those that, maybe did look at this information when they got it, just kind of walk through to the best, as much as you can with this page. Just because I know one of the things, and Tanya's not here, but she mentioned that that some folks in one of our communities did ask or wanted to know about the overtime, and I said to her, I think it's going to be a part of our information, but I want to make sure, if somebody's looking at this for the first time, this looks foreign to me. So I don't know if there's a way to kind of walk through or talk through some of these numbers. How did we get to such a specific $575,702.08?
Well, we used the collective bargaining agreement, which is in place for the firefighters. That was our source document to determine wages for 2026. And to Chief Wigman's point, we took the same model, the 24 on, 72 off. We determined how many hours there are in a year that are going to need to be covered, how many are still have a gap with the bringing on 6 people instead of 19. You'll see the first block in the last column, those are wages only. So this does not include any benefits relating to those new hires. So we would be looking at $1.8 million in wages only. And then we went and we have 5 full-timers. We have the total hours needed to run 24/7. And then we have base hours for the staff size of 11, which is the current staff plus 6. And then overtime hours needed to cover the shortage was 27,040 hours. Then the second block over was if we hire only 6 additional firefighters, and same sort of calculation. We took the wages that they would make plus the overtime that was going to be needed to fill that. And that's how we came to the, we only hire 6 employees, would need $575,702 in overtime. And the reason I put this in your packet was I didn't want to just give you a number and drop it in a summary sheet. I want you to see that this was, this was thought out, and I emphasized and Blaine knows this too, that when we asked our payroll manager or administrator to do this, I said, I don't need a rush on it. I need this to be accurate. So take your time, talk to Chief Wigman if you've got some questions about the assumptions that have been built into the new staffing schedule that he was proposing with the 24 on 72 off. And this is what came up with.
Right. And thank you for that, because it was more so just, someone that maybe is not used to seeing some, just to kind of walk through what the thought process was.
And this wouldn't necessarily be, I mean, we can certainly make this a public document, but we would put a better summary together for the average reader to look at, similar to what we did when you asked me what were the tax implications, and we just picked 8 neighborhoods randomly to show, like, from a moderate neighborhood up to one of our most expensive neighborhoods, what the implication would be, for a tax increase that we were proposing.
And I know we talked about that we're going to run some additional scenarios with that as well.
Yes, absolutely. There are some other neighborhoods, but I need to get with the tax collector to get an average assessed value for those neighborhoods.
Right. Okay.
So am I reading this wrong, that it will cost us more to only hire 6 because of the overtime?
It'll cost you almost over 500,000 more with the overtime.
Than
Just
if we
6.
hired all 19.
Correct. If we go with the 2472 402 model.
Any other questions?
It seems like a no-brainer. I mean, we're gonna have to raise taxes, but they're just gonna be more to do the staggered.
Well, we suspected that, but until we played it out
Correct.
on a spreadsheet, I didn't want to
see
just say that. I'm never going to be that cavalier with that approach. I need to see it myself. So that's why we sat down, made sure that she understood what we were asking for, what we were proposing, and then crunched the numbers and then had them reviewed. It's, this has been discussed, as I told you, this has been talked about for well over 10 years in the Commonwealth. I remember when Governor Rendell was in place and he sort of sounded the alarm at a managers conference in Harrisburg and said, you need to get and understand this. I understand there might be some money coming from Harrisburg down the road, but there's no guarantee. The county has not shown us that they are taking the lead on any kind of a regional approach. So Chief Wegman and our job is to protect Montgomery Township, and this is the way that he believes we can best ensure that we have the correct response times that our residents should expect on the weekends that they do during the week. And that includes obviously holidays, evenings, overnights. And it would, as you heard from 2 of your chief volunteers who came in, senior leadership, they're tired. This is a lot on them. And, the 200 hours of training, just to be firefighter 1, to your statements earlier about affordability, our firefighters can't afford to live in our community. They're stretched in a lot of different directions with, work-life integration. They've got children, they have dual incomes, they have dual responsibilities, and aging parents, and it's just a lot on them. And when the chief looked at the census and started looking at the ages of our volunteer firefighters, they're young in spirit, but as we all know, our bodies don't necessarily match that spirit. And to have someone who's 73 years old, 69 years old, at some point they're going to say uncle, and
Or worse.
well, yeah. So this is, Chief Wegman and I have probably talked about this more than any other thing involved since he got here. We have a great career staff, and I believe that we'll make it even better with the people, because there are people who want to be here because of the culture that he has created. He has single-handedly changed the culture, and any of you who know what it was like before, the firefighters we have are committed. They are committed to this community. They're committed to community risk reduction. And it's just important that we have this discussion, and we'll talk about it as much as we need to and answer as many questions as we need to. At the end, it's your decision as not only representatives of this township, but residents of this township, So we respect anything that you tell us to do, any additional information you want, and we will do whatever you ultimately decide. But we would be remiss if we didn't bring this forward, knowing that, everybody kind of holds their breath and, grimaces a little when they hear the two-word tax increase.
Right. Yeah. I think it's important that we recognize that, our most basic responsibilities as public servants here in the township is obviously infrastructure, but public safety. And we have to reckon with the fact that things have changed. Actually, I shouldn't say have changed and continue to change. And they are trending in a way that it is giving me concern about gaps in the ability to service those public safety needs that we have as a community and we expect. So I feel as if I think is most important that we are communicating well and also listening to what the concerns are of the public, which I think we need to ask for people here that might have some things to say as well, but also people that might be watching it from home. This is a big ask, but I think it's also a big situation that we are facing here in Montgomery Township, but throughout the state and throughout the country. And we can't just expect that the same people are going to cover this. It's too much is at stake. So let's try and understand the problem, communicate that problem, listen to the situation from outside, and then hopefully we can come to a great conclusion here in that we need to expand.
I think what you're looking for is health, safety, and welfare is a number one priority here. But a question that I had on here, the staff size of 11 says they'd need to work 87 hours per week. Am I reading that correct? Okay. And then 24/7 with 24 firefighters is 49 hours. Is that?
What I will say as a resident is the additional cost of that overtime is frivolous. I think I could not support that.
Well, we're not making any
Correct.
decision. I mean, we just asked for some
Correct.
additional
Yep.
data.
Right.
The data's been, given to us, given to the,
I think
Yeah,
what we
given
need to
to-
do is know whether to put this into the budget or not. Is that what we're looking for?
Yes, as you know, the budget season has started for us. We're talking already. Greg and I met this afternoon, discussed capital for next year, including the concrete outside the building. That's, because by the time you get it, we have dotted our I's and crossed our T's. So when you have your budget work session in late October, all this will need to be flushed out. And yes, it's one fund or one area, but a lot rolls. So I need to know, sooner rather than later. In a perfect world, I would love to know by the first meeting in September. If I have to wait till the second meeting, I can have everything else sort of in place and be able to drop numbers. What I don't want to do is the night that I present the budget to you in November, have 3 different scenarios in front of me that it gets confusing to what we're presenting. And I have been in situations where I've been asked to do that. Show us one way, show us another way, and it can be done, but it causes confusion. I would like to have everything answered and that you can honestly say you did as much as you could in terms of public outreach and through social media and, old-fashioned ways of, having meetings. So,
yeah. And that's what we said, but, it's no decisions are being made this
no, we're not
evening,
asking
but,
for that.
I want to take this additional time to try to get as much information out there, to hear from the community, to get, feedback and more. I mean, ultimately it's our decision, but we definitely, and I always say we are a board that's supposed to represent the community. So we want to hear from the community. So with that, is there anyone here that wanted to say anything? Please come up to the microphone if you'd like and state your name.
Hi, my name's Adam Morrow. I live at 100 of Willowwood Court. I'm a current volunteer with the Township Fire Department, but I am not here part of the township. I'm here as a taxpayer, a business owner, and a property owner here in the township. I fully support where we're going. It's inevitable. Across the country, it's a true issue. What I cannot support is the tax increase without a forecast. We need a new station. You can't bring 19 people into that station. It's just not possible. We barely have room right now as it is. I know we're in process of trying to figure out feasible studies, seeing what we need and everything, but I don't see how we can raise taxes to bring 19 guys on, and then raise it again for a new facility. This building here is getting old. The police department, they can barely fit in there. Should we look at maybe having a general facility here that houses everything? You know, maybe we need to look a little bit more forecasting further down the road for our facilities and then bring on 24/7. Maybe we just do 12 hours, 7 days a week, fill in that gaps where we currently need it. You know, maybe not go full turkey, you know, going 24/7. I think as a community, we owe the residents here the right to explore every single option. Going the 2 platoons back and forth, that's a lot in overtime. That's crazy. That wouldn't make sense. But maybe there's something else in between that we can phase our way into, that we're not going to kill the volunteers anymore, but we're not going to kill our pockets at the same time. I grew up in this township. I moved to Florida, loved it down there, came back here. Now I live here. My business is here, and I plan on raising a family here. I want to make sure that this township is fantastic going forward, and I believe we can do that. But I just want to make sure that we're smart in how we do it and we plan for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
This is I'm Rick Morrow, 100 Willowwood Court. I have no idea who that guy is. I have a question for clarification. I looked at what I believe your packet was, and I just need some clarifications. The last meeting, it said a 38% tax increase, but now I'm hearing millage. Was that 38% correct? Millage doesn't mean anything to me. 38% means something, I think, to most citizens here. So that's one thing going out there. The other thing that's very interesting is looking at your packages, which I assume that I'm looking at the same thing you're looking at. There was a statistics regarding response times for June, which are 4 minutes, 30 seconds. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. We're talking about a 38% increase with something that's not deteriorating. I understand we want to protect everybody, and that's part of your job, but you're also a fiduciary responsibility to taxpayers. And if you look at this from a business perspective, what's the compelling reason to go full throttle when we don't have a problem yet with the
We do have a problem. The information in the packet is first responding unit, which is a chief's car. It's not first responding apparatus.
Well, you got to make sure you have these statistics because
They are correct. I've given the correct
is
statistics.
that you're looking at this, you're asking of the citizens, and you're going to get a lot of heat from this because you're going to have to say, what is the compelling reason to do this increase when our statistics don't show something terrible or a deterioration? If we had something terrible and you had it 10 minutes, you know, for the whole month, that's a real reason.
Sir,
I did.
slow down a little bit. That's exactly what he did share.
But he didn't put
with
that
us.
in this thing. So
What are you referring to,
I'm
sir?
going to what you guys received as your packet. I went through that.
No, when you say packet, we received overtime. There's one sheet on overtime. So what packet are you referring to?
I think he's talking about the fire service report from June that I provide you every month.
Attachment to this
Oh,
That's correct.
Okay.
It has your agenda. And
Oh, okay. You're talking about, all right.
That's
I
correct.
want to look at know what you're looking at.
So
So I think, but the bottom line is we all have to be on the same page. And you have to make sure that when you make statements, there is a compelling business reason to go from what doesn't seem to be bad right now. I'm not denying we have a problem in the future, but to go full blown at this point in time, is that makes sense for somebody in this township, a 38% increase? Think about the people who are like, you know, senior citizens, whatever. You're putting a big burden. You're worried about, you know, quality of life. We might have some instances where people won't be able to afford to live here now. So that's all I'm saying is make sure our numbers and everything else makes sense. Because when people's hear millage, no one cares. When you hear a 38% tax increase, everybody gets excited, whether it's real or not. That's all. You have to look at that. You have to be the fiduciary responsibility in addition to public safety. That's the jobs you got to have.
Agree. Chief, did you have anything you wanted to add to that or say to respond?
Yeah, I can clarify the times. The report that you receive every month is a automatic generated report from our software system that is showing you first arriving unit. His 4 minutes and 30 point is exactly what I told you. Our career staff arrives on scene in 4 minutes and 25 seconds. That's 100% accurate. The report that I provided you every month is a first arriving unit report. It's not a first responding fire apparatus report. That was an additional report that I had given you before, where it shows that currently our on-scene time for our career staff is 4 minutes and 25 seconds this year. Our on-scene time for volunteers is 9 minutes and 49 seconds. Our on-scene time of our stipend is 7 minutes and 7 seconds. When the report that he's talking about is all of our calls, officer investigations, fire police only units, mutual aid out of town runs. What I did when I did the statistics for you is I broke them down and took out the fire officer runs, the fire police only runs, and only included the first arriving fire truck, not the first arriving unit. So, which means if we have a call on the weekends and I go from my driveway and it's in our neighborhood, I could be there 1 minute. That doesn't give you a good picture of how long it took somebody else to leave their house, go to the firehouse, get in the truck, and bring the truck to the firehouse. So what the statistics I presented you, which were most interesting because of our software limitations, is the first arriving fire truck and firefighter one qualified members. That was the information I provided you. So it takes out of the account, we might have, it might say 25 people on a fire call, but as Adam knows, because he's a member, 21 of those 25 people could be fire police. That doesn't count towards our pro board fire one. So the numbers that I presented you were first arriving apparatus with qualified fire one personnel, which is our standard for an interior firefighter.
And first arriving apparatus is someone who actually can
It's the fire truck.
start putting the fire out,
Right.
not the fire chief who gets there by himself.
Right. Because, and I think that's a lot of how data gets skewed, is that everybody goes with that first arriving unit. And it's always going to be a chief officer in our town. Hopefully, it'll always be Vinay or Adam or I, because we just get in the car and go. We have lights and sirens and we can go. I wanted you to see the clearer picture of the difference from the fire truck arriving on location.
Where can the public get that? I know we had that in our last meetings.
So
packet.
today we diligently worked on putting some flyers together for some
Public meetings.
public meetings
And we're
coming
working
up.
on a dedicated page on the website where we'll put information on there, but we need to sit down this week and determine what we want to put on there and make sure that it's in context that an average individual can read it and understand what we're trying to incorporate. We work in this all the time, especially Chief Wigman, and the acronyms get thrown around that, we're familiar with them. So we want to really make sure, just like we did with the Penn Medicine page, we wanted to make sure that somebody could look at it, get the information they need, and not have to really dive down further, than necessary.
Right. It's easy to see how people could misunderstand and misinterpret what was intended to be, here's some figure.
Correct.
But it's not necessarily what they think they're reading.
Correct. So that's
Thank you
that's-
for your, thank you
Come
for
on
that.
up.
That's fine. What you should do is you should do it for the past 2 years.
I did it for the last 3 years.
2 years, and then, but the other thing, and we should see it so that. like,
Excuse me,
tomorrow-
sir, your comments should be directed to the board.
Oh, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
that's okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying in terms of, let's make sure that we have the right numbers so we don't get into discussions.
So I have a doc.
And I would go back for a historical thing, because again, if you're gonna go for a 38% increase, we've got to be able to have all your ducks in your order. That's all. I just want to, I want to make sure that you guys do what's right for the township.
Always.
And, we'll support it. I'll support anything as long as it makes sense. Thank you.
So the document that's going to go up is the last 3 years, and it's 1,615 data points. It'll all be, it's all right here. I have it right here, the last 3 years. So that'll all be up on the website, so that it's completely transparent and people, and I mean, all of it was double checked and triple checked to make sure it was right. As for Adam's point on the building, I have been to smaller career firehouses and have seen it work. Especially Upper Marion is one good example. And I think I stated this before. It'll work. We have the bunk space. We've already spoken to IT. We have the gear racks. We got more gear racks. So we can make it work if that's the decision you make.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Thank you. Okay, item number 24, new business department report. These are the reports that our township put together for us. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you as always for everything you do.
Okay, new business committee board liaison reports. Please.
Shade Tree did not meet. Planning Commission did. Basically a lot of talk about trees and replacement trees, where they should be on a new, little subdivision. Three houses?
3 lots.
So just trying to preserve and have as many trees replanted, as we can.
I was unable to attend the Environmental Advisory Committee meeting this month. But I do know that they are moving forward with looking at open space, or not open space, but areas for less mowing. So that's something that's high on their list, and they've been working with Greg on that. And then our business development partnership, we're still working towards I think we've just continued, we are distributing welcome bags to new businesses in our area, in our township, and including window decals, and that really identify them as a business in Montgomery Township, because most people come in and they say, hey, welcome to North Wales, or our new business in Lansdale just opened. So we're trying to help them identify themselves as a business here in the Montgomery Township. But also giving them resources so that they know who to call in case of any of their needs. And then we have an event coming up in September as well as a get together for different businesses, so they can partnership and learn best practices. So that's coming up as well.
And then I had, we did have our finance committee meeting, which we do quarterly now. And so we just spent a lot of time talking. Chief came and presented to us on, with regard to the fire expansion. So we spent a fair amount of time on that. And then just, of course, going over the numbers within the township. And then my senior committee, we really didn't talk about much. We had an event. We talked about our event that was happening that afternoon, and I want to say we ended our meeting early too, because our speaker came and folks were coming into our room because they thought that's where it was, but it was down the hall in the rec center. So just time again spent around discussing our the different meetings that we've been holding over the course of the year, and then just what we want to plan for next year. So that was kind of it. Okay. The only other thing I wanted to mention before we actually adjourn is I wanted to just take an opportunity, a moment to speak on the recent ICE operations that have taken place in Montgomery County, most recently in Norristown, PA. Many residents have shared their concerns on these so-called raids. Immigration enforcement is a federal matter. However, there is a humane piece of this that hits all of us extremely hard. So especially when they happen in spaces where our family and our friends shop, work, and gather together. I want to say that Montgomery Township continues to be a community that welcomes all who live and work here. We pray that our community remains safe and sound, but realize the fear and uncertainty of these events bring about many concerns, especially for any and all immigrant families. Please know that anyone in need of support or legal guidance can reach out to the Montgomery County Immigrant Resource Center. This resource provides confidential support to those that may need assistance. Our motto here has always been, we are Montgomery Township. Now more than ever, we need to ensure we uphold that motto by being there for each other with dignity and compassion. So I just wanted to make that statement. And on that, I will adjourn.
Awesome. Motion.
Good. Motion to adjourn. Any public comment?
Okay.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thank you.